Hitchcock is an influential director whose movies have far outlived his life, and current directors still use his techniques. One of his techniques was to use eyes to tell a story. This is seen throughout his films and makes a strong impact in each one. I will be focusing on three movies for examples. They are Rear Window, Vertigo, The Lodger, A Story of London Fog, and Strangers on a Train. The first movie that displays Hitchcock's use of eyes is Rear Window. Rear Window is a movie about a cameraman named Jeff who is stuck in his apartment and watches his neighbors. Throughout the movie, eyes are used to tell the story of each neighbor. Even Jeff himself has many close ups where his eyes are shown looking at and studying each of his neighbors. This scene, where Jeff grabs his camera to watch one of his neighbors, Lars, who he believes killed his wife, is an example of how eyes are used in this film to tell the viewer what Jeff is thinking in the scene without saying a word. His eyes track the apartment, looking for the camera and everything he needs to use it. You can see the concern and curiosity in Jeff's eyes as he grabs the camera and watches Lars. The scene keeps cutting back to Jeff, and he lowers his camera so the audience can see his face. The only sound in this scene is the music from the composer's apartment. This scene is where Lisa, Jeff's girl, enters Lars' apartment to grab his wife's wedding ring, while Jeff and his nurse, Stella, are watching. In this scene, Stella's face, particularly her eyes, show that she is shocked that Lisa entered the apartment, and even more so when she is caught by Lars. Even though Lisa is far away, we can still tell what she is thinking and doing based on her eyes and expressions. Jeff's eyes are sunken and contrast the rest of his face, which shows that expressions that he displays throughout the movie. Lars's eyes and facial expressions show what he is thinking, even though he is far away, and in the final shot of the scene, he stares directly at the viewer and Jeff. The next movie that uses eyes effectively is Vertigo. Vertigo is a film that depicts a retired police officer, Scotty, who has a fear of heights that causes vertigo, and is asked by a friend, Gavin, to track his wife, Madeline, who he suspects is going to commit suicide. When heights are shown during the majority of the movie, Scotty's facial expressions are exaggerated with wide eyes and furrowed brows. In The Variety of Gazes by Gottlieb, he states that James Stewart and Kim Nowak make visible the inner narrative of fluctuating feelings of their characters by what they do with their faces, and particularly their eyes. These display Scotty's fear of heights, the trauma behind the fear, and the emotions that he experiences in a clear way that the audience can recognize. Gottlieb also points out that these expressions are a look into an abyss, so silent and terrifying. Kim Novak, who plays Madeline, uses her eyes as much, if not more, than Scotty to tell the story of her character. In this scene, Madeline stares blankly to show that she is possessed and not aware of what she is doing, and Scotty stares back at her with concern and also looks for her. James Stewart, who plays Scotty, has eyes that highly contrast the rest of his face. This accentuates his eye movements that can be shown from further distances and is extremely clear to viewers. In the scene shown, Scotty is watching Madeline in a flower shop. His eye is seen clearly in the shadows despite the dark lighting. The next movie that showcases the use of eyes is The Lodger, A Story of London Fog. The Lodger is a silent film by Hitchcock about a man who rents a room with the Buntings, and they suspect he is the Avenger, a serial killer that targets blonde women. The most iconic scene of this film is when the lodger arrives at the Buntingtons' residence. His outfit has everything covered except his eyes, which peer through the fog in an unnerving way. Miss Bunting's eyes widen as she views the man, which shows the shock that she has of seeing him there. As the entire movie is silent, a lot of the characters tell their story through eyes. Since this is Hitchcock's third film, it is likely where the start of using eyes for storytelling started, and he continued the trend throughout further movies, including those late in his career. The final movie that showcases Hitchcock's use of eyes is Strangers on a Train, which is a movie about a tennis star guy who meets Bruno on a train and plots the quote-unquote perfect plan for murder, where the two strangers kill each other's target, and Guy unknowingly agrees to the plan, and his ex-wife is killed by Bruno. This is the opening scene, where Bruno is explaining to Guy all of the murder plans that he has. Guy's eyes and facial expression show that he is disinterested in the topic of conversation and finds Bruno's idea funny, yet is still polite as he can be by still paying attention. Bruno's eyes, on the other hand, show an eerie excitement for the conversation and the seriousness of the conversation to him, and the happiness or dream state that he flips to when he looks up towards the ceiling when he is explaining his perfect murder plot. This scene during Guy's tennis match before Bruno reaches the ride where Guy's ex-wife was killed is a perfect example of eyes. As the crowd watches the match, their eyes turn side to side watching the game and adding tension to the scene. The announcer's eyes are pronounced and are focused on the game as well. The other tennis player and Guy's eyes are focused on the match, but also show the worry of making it to the fairground on time. While the match is going on, Bruno is trying to grab Guy's lighter that he dropped down the drain, and his eyes show the worry and hope that he's able to grab the lighter. Each of these scenes are just a small example of the use of eyes in Hitchcock's films to tell a story. He uses this trope effectively and allows the viewer to become even more engrossed in each film by using one of the smallest features on the human body, the eyes.